I'm confused because when Cory Booker brought up Sudan as a deflection in his convo with Jennifer Welsh, everyone rightfully called it for what it was, cowardly and repulsive deflection. Why is it different for you? Because people fucking hate me. Because I've been a loud and annoying leftist for 10 fucking years, chatter. 10 years. For 10 fucking years, I have pissed off everyone, even people who would otherwise be aligned with me. That's it. Most of it is because there are people in here who were in here who felt wronged by me and fucking despise me for that reason. I'm Sudanese. Small head, you ain't so bad, kid. Thank you. And Booker was changing a very specific subject he was clearly trying to run from. Yes, but my assessment in that moment, or the reason why I always am like, I have talked about Sudan, but why are you bringing it up in this circumstance, is because it is the most common deflection point. That's it. The thing is, I'm stubborn as okay? I'm a stubborn ass motherfucker. And I don't do this so that people think I'm cool. Nobody thinks leftism is cool. I wish they did. It would be awesome. I wish they did, but they don't. And a part of the reason why they don't is because we're fucking annoying. All of us on the left, we're fucking annoying. We're constantly going, me, 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 me. We're constantly chirping. We love chirping. We chirp all the time. We are unimaginably hostile to people who are ignorant. We are unimaginably uncharitable to everybody else, and even people who we perceive as having a slight deviation from our ideology. It's just the truth. Face thinks you're whack, or rather your audience is, because of this reason. They would not have blinked about this recent controversy. There are so many other communities out there who much rather find themselves in the throes of like all of the most like right-wing, racist, bigoted shit, as opposed to this community, because this community is so unimaginably hostile to perceived slights, some of which is obviously deserved, but some of which is not. And this is an issue in my audience, and this is something that I've yelled about quite a bit. The irony is, of course, whenever I yell about it, people then, the very same people who constantly talk about that shit will use that as another opportunity to further relitigate how bad I am. We have a real issue. That's why, what's the first thing that I always say? Be normal. No, it's not all leftists are like that. I think it's just you, dog. You're just an asshole. No offense. No offense. But as someone who agrees with 80% of your politics, it's crazy how unlikable you are. I don't even know why. Okay. Who do you perceive as a more likable figure? Like this is what I mean. This is what I'm talking about. I like that the three people that you mentioned as a much more likable figure are the three people that I have direct communication with, like are the closest, with the exception of, I mean, I guess like Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar. They like me quite a bit, as a matter of fact. Maybe they see something you don't. I don't know. Also, those are politicians. They have to be, probably because they don't watch your stream. Oh, okay. Who do you think is at fault here? Guy who agrees with overwhelming majority of my opinions, but simply can't seem to place your finger on why you just have distaste for me and you can't let go of that optical resentment? Or guy who's trying to navigate way you talk, I think. Or guy who's just trying to navigate through the treacherous nature of reactionary politics that are so pervasive online. It's because I give off a frat dude vibe. All right, man. As I said time and time again, I'm hard-headed and I'm stubborn. And I think that is what is necessary to get the point across sometimes. And also, I think it would be insincere if I were to try to retriangulate my message to the aesthetic tastes of people who don't like that I come across like a frat bro. But a couple of people mention you in particular when they mention that they're tired of seeing frat bro leftists. Yeah, okay. You build it. If you build it, they will come. I have no control over who I am. This is just who I am. And I think it would be insincere if I were to behave in a different manner. I believe the things that I believe. I do also disagree with a lot of people who say, oh, you're a frat bro leftist and that's not digestible. I think that's also incorrect. I do suspect that your brand of leftist aesthetics is actually not digestible. I'm a normal person. This is just who I am. I happen to have this worldview. It doesn't matter. The optics don't matter all that much. You know? This video pretty much sums up the issue.
And
oh, yeah.
I know y'all don't want to hear this, but even the people who say they don't like cops and say ACAB are cops. Like, a lot of y'all are cops. There's this social phenomenon where people will find a public target, which is usually someone who makes minor. And I'm emphasizing minor because there are some egregious things that people can do, but minor missteps, minor mistakes, and they will like treat that person like a public punching bag until the end of days. And I peak game, right? Because people will like literally see someone who becomes an acceptable social target, and no matter what that person does, no matter how they apologize, no matter what they contribute to society, no matter how good they are of a person outside of the mistakes that they make, no matter if they have one take even that is like slightly off or that like people deem to be a little problematic, it becomes okay to like publicly harass and beat up on that person to the end of time. That to me is cop behavior. And look,
I've talked about this before. It's accountability culture in air quotes, and it stems from powerlessness. It stems from a recognition of your real powerlessness in the face of these unmoving structural hurdles, these unmoving oppressive systems that we exist under. We know that we can't change the government. We know that we can't actually like change the outcome of police brutality, no matter how hard we try. So we focus on more accessible targets, more appropriate targets. This is what a lot of the left does. Oh, well, you know, I can't get anything across to the Democrats. I can't get anything across to the Republican Party. I can't change the systems, even though there are so many awful things that are happening around the world. I see it and it hurts me and it hurts my feelings and I want to change it, but I can't. But where do I have change? Where can I see change? If I can get a TV show canceled, if I can get a written apology from, a TV show that I watch, a late night television show host that I watch, that's the only marginal area where you can have some semblance of change. And you just really keep hammering that on because it makes you feel like you have agency. It makes you feel like you have some semblance of power. That's why a lot of people do it. It's the obsession with crime and punishment for social slights, perceived social slights. And it's also a tendency for behaving in a puritanical manner, like wanting to behave in a puritanical manner. A lot of people also have an evangelical streak, if we're being real, even if they themselves are not self-identifying Christians. And all of those things combined, I think, all of those things combined create this very interesting dynamic. Is it me, or is calling you a frat bro exactly what you were just addressing with leftists being unforgiving and judgmental? Yeah, it was. It's just like, oh, you present yourself a certain way and I don't like it and it annoys me. And then the closest comparison that someone can make in that regard is not someone who is under a microscope for fucking, 7 hours a day while discussing these issues, but someone who is a politician who has to carry themselves very differently and is certainly not under that same lens. Anyway, brother, can you quit saying the left like you were also not a part of the left? It feels pretty damn insulting to us that consider ourselves leftists. What do you mean? I also say I do it too. I'm a part of this as well. But the more we do this, the more inaccessible we seem to others who are in our reach. That's the other thing. We don't actually let bygones be bygones. We're not charitable to people who like f***ed up. And to the outsiders who look at that situation and say, well, I've done things like that, but this broad left movement sees this person as a fucking demon, as an animal, sees that person as a villain. Am I a villain? And that's the moment where they go, I'm not even approaching this shit with charitability. That's the problem. We do this to ourselves. Can you give us an example? I mean, there are a million examples that take place on a daily fucking basis. There are so many people that are constantly cast aside. Like here, I'll give you an example so that we can have drama over it if you want. Like people were screaming at Cutie Cinderella. And I looked through the people that were yelling at Cutie Cinderella. Not many of them were actually fans of mine because Cutie Cinderella responded to Aiden Ross and Asmongold doing a competing award show or something. And everyone got mad at her. And they were like, why are you highlighting these right-wing figures? It's true. Aiden Ross and Asmongold are right-wing figures. They are. But like, this is not any sort of serious, sincere advocacy. And I'm not even taking ownership over the people that were doing that because like I literally looked to see if these were like genuine fans of mine or something. Because guess what? They weren't. But also guess what? Every other community that saw people yelling at Cutie Cinderella Do you know what they think? They think it was my audience that did that, because anyone who feels slighted by a hall monitor on the internet immediately associates that with the broad leftist movement. For many people who have horse blinders on that don't see the world outside of this like little confine that we exist in this little echo chamber that we live in, I am the representative of all things left and all things woke. They don't see so many people that would yell at QD for something like that also yelling at me, saying I'm anti-black, saying this, saying that. They don't see that shit. Or when they do, they go, oh, here it is. These woke libtards are eating each other alive once again. For the average person, they don't have the political education to sift through the different sects of the left, the different ideological tendencies of the left. They just broadly see everything as the Democratic Party, libtards, and they look to all of us in that same way. I'm not exactly certain how we move beyond this, because this is historically, this is as long as the left has existed. But that's just unfortunately the reality. We are always presented as the more toxic version of Asmongold. Just so you know, not to like the normies, but at least on the broader like internet culture arena, I need you to understand something very important. People think we are more annoying and more toxic than rapacious, monstrous right-wingers, because there is a sense of comfort that the average person has with a rapacious, monstrous right-winger, even if they are literally victim to their relentless attacks. Black and brown people. You can extend this to even the Donald Trump vote, because most people don't have the political education. They just simply look at the vibes. And the vibes are liberals are annoying. Liberals are the annoying HR people at your job, or liberals are the annoying hall monitors at your school, and that they're constantly fucking yelling about shit that doesn't matter. They're constantly checking people. They're constantly saying, like, you're doing this, you should be doing something different. Fuck you. This is irredeemable. The vibes have been for decades. Very difficult to overcome this problem. But the right, not having any sort of moral standard at all, gives people a sense of comfort. It gives the average onlookers a sense of comfort. It makes the average person go, I don't fully agree with whatever the fuck these guys are saying, but ultimately it kind of feels like these assholes would never come after me and yell at me unless I become woke. That's how a lot of people find themselves in the comforts at like the apolitical middle. That's, if you're wondering how like this Joe Rogan of the left conversation works, right? That's how it works. If you're wondering how there are 1,000 Joe Rogans, but there's only one Hasan Piker, that's the reason. Because no one is fucking schizophrenic and autistic enough to constantly fucking sit there and eat it every day and not become a monstrous person who says, fuck all of this, I'm going right wing. Nobody wants to do it. Why the fuck would anybody want to constantly be harassed by the right and then simultaneously get harassed by the left too for marginal differences in opinion or perceived slights? No one wants to do it. Why the fuck would anyone want to do it, even with all the fucking money that you can make? I really hope you get schizophrenia. I will be the first medical internet-induced schizophrenia patient. Don't worry. Twitch CTE, baby. That's it. There's a reason why there is a reason why so many people look to broadly what the left represents and only sees being fucking annoying. Like only sees the vibes as annoying, smarmy hall monitors. Is one of the worst aspects of the left broadly. And it's something that I try to, for the past decade, change, and it still doesn't fucking work. Even in this community, there's hella people that go crazy. Your niche is on the left. The right wouldn't welcome you or take you even seriously at this point. You're so fucking stupid. The right takes in rapists, brother. You're so dumb for that statement. Are you fucking kidding me? The nuts that they would fire off if one day I were to be like, yeah, fuck this socialism bullshit, you know? I'm sick and tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm actually a liberal. I'm actually a reasonable liberal who agrees with the right on every single issue all the time suspiciously. Are you fucking kidding me? I know the talking points better than the right does. You know how fucking easy that swing would be? I'll be getting welcome to the fucking White House. They've named the ballroom after me. They don't have one fucking charismatic figure on the right. What are you talking about? If I can actually operate in this unimaginably hostile fucking water, I don't know. They do be Islamophobes. Yeah. You know what they love though? A guy who shits on Islam with the former backing of being Muslim. If I had no morals whatsoever, if I had no fucking moral compass, if I was a grifter, I would just grift to the right. Think about all of the top deities on the right, top fucking figureheads on the right. They got nothing. They got no motion. They're not charismatic. They don't have no riz. They don't ever have to fucking navigate the treacherous spaces of being a fucking leftist. There's no purity testing on the right. They just go, oh, you like Trump? Great. I remember Your Rage was open to doing a collab stream a few years ago, but he said he changed his mind after he saw how much shit you got for even thinking about playing the Harry Potter game. If they treat their own man like that, how are they going to treat me if I fuck up? Was his reasoning for dropping the collab idea? Yeah. And I know for a fact so many people are not going to understand the broader lesson here that I'm trying to fucking instill upon my audience and think, oh, he's just fucking sad that he can't fuck around with his millionaire buddies. Oh, woe is me. Big old millionaire. Can't even hang out with his millionaire buddies and he's offended and he's sad. No, dude. It's the overall vibes that we put out. Most people, we don't market ourselves at all. We just don't. We don't fucking market ourselves. And we just expect people to get on board because we're right without even presenting an argument as to why we're right. Add on to that the misinformation spiral that people go through, and there you have it. That's why I always laugh at people who are like, I see TikToks of the very same people that are constantly being like, this person is fucked up and wrong. This person on the left is a bad person, who then will literally turn around and in the same breath be like, why are there no visible figures on the left? I wonder why. Because you killed them. Like, what do you mean? And the only people who can actually overcome that, because if you are trying to become a propagandist for the left, you literally have to just never listen to that noise. You have to make sure that you abide by your principles and you're honest with yourself and you're honest with your audience, and don't get disturbed by the noise. Don't do it. There are a lot of people in here who for many, many years have told me, oh, we shouldn't allow this person in the community, or we should be less open-minded about like perceived slights, even if they're on a journey of learning, like shutting off people entirely from the journey of self-development, right? We do this all the time. And those people, because I don't listen to them, can now benefit from a much larger community of support. Because if I were to do that when I had 35 viewers, I would have stayed with 35 viewers. If I were to do that when I had 350 viewers, I would have stayed at 350. If I were to do that at 3,000 viewers when the demands were being made, I would have stayed at 3,000 viewers. And I didn't do it. There is no value in perceived exclusivity. There is no value in gatekeeping, especially if your goal is to instill broad awareness, to unlock class consciousness, you know?
Y'all gonna jump me for this, but like, we always dismissing the intolerant left thing, but I do think there's something to explore around how there is like such a thing as being punitive and unforgiving, and it happens a lot in online.
Like, look at this fucking asshole. Like, oh man, you really did me so solid. Thank you. Just to prove a cynical point, you're willing to call yourself a Nazi publicly? Like what are you doing? Okay, fuck you then. How about that?
Faces. And look, somebody 2 decades from now should not be paying for like using a slightly phobic word, or even if they do apologize and acknowledge it, or saying something out of pocket once and acknowledging it and not saying it again. I do think like y'all are cops. No shade. No shade, no I do. Oh wait, and one more thing. A lot of the times these targets are women, queer people, black people, brown people, mostly black people, and then some disabled people. If it's a person on the margins, it makes it easier for y'all to do it because it justifies you hating people who are marginalized, because you won't do it with your chest outside of that. And a lot of y'all who claim to be like radical social justice oriented people are just as bad, if not worse. A lot of y'all
Agree, but I've also met a lot of libs who police other leftists. Wait, what? Yeah, no, this is, everybody does that. Jake Tapper mentioned, oh, buddy, oh, brother, it is not going to be good if Jake Tapper's coming after me. But yeah, no, liberals do that as well. Liberals also certainly do that. That's annoying. Liberals broadly do it to their left flank, but they also do that to their right as well. They do it all the time. As a matter of fact, they probably do it even more frequently than the left does. The examples he's saying is very different to some of the people in this community side eyes, though. He's not apples to apples. All right, someone clip me the Jake Tapper mention. Like, Jake Tapper's a great example. He's literally doing something that we just talked about in terms of like cancel culture, right? Like, Jake Tapper doesn't like me for obvious reasons. And I suspect that he's not going to fucking defend me. He's using this as an opportunity to fucking take a couple pot shots at Zoran and shit.
Mamdani's affiliation with Hasan Piker, who is a progressive podcast host who had said something along the lines of America deserved 9/11 or something along those lines. That's what he said he was referring to. But moving on, Nina Turner, Cuomo was pressed last night on his past quite a bit, particularly the sexual harassment claims. One of Cuomo's accusers was in the audience, Charlotte Bennett, invited by Mamdani. That's a move we first saw pulled by Donald Trump against Hillary Clinton and by association, Bill Clinton. How do you think Cuomo did on those issues?
Well, he took the words right out of my mouth, Jake. I was going to make reference.
Okay,
to
Jake actually didn't f me. Respect
Trump
the Jake.
during a debate.
My mistake. My mistake for assuming he was going to f me.
These were credible accusations. They were not wild accusations. They were very credible. And it's really hard to try to explain something of that magnitude away when you are running for office. So he didn't do well. I mean, he tried, but you just can't. He's between a rock and a hard place on that one.
He called you a liberal podcast host?
Not
he said
an
progressive.
issue he can satisfactorily address, I guess. It's interesting that Mayor Adams ended up picking Cuomo, endorsing Cuomo, because let's just roll the tape. This is what he said just a few weeks ago.
I want to be clear with you. Andrew Cuomo is a snake and a liar.
I mean, that's not typical political rhetoric. I mean, that's not, he's not qualified. That's not, I mean, a snake and a liar. Jonah, what changed?
I've been trying to figure this out. I don't pretend to know, but there's a lot of New York City, big Republican donors that have been leaning on Trump to lean on Adams to endorse Cuomo. Adams is sort of, a creature at this point of the Trump administration, given the pardon that he got. And so I'm sure all the pressure went that way. And I do think that, as the snake and liar comment notwithstanding, you do get the sense that Adams resents Mamdani more than he resents Cuomo at this point.
Well, his interest
One
changed,
leader in New York who's, go ahead.
His interest changed. I mean, his interest changed. Politics makes for strange bedfellows, as the quote goes. And so that is why he is doing it. I don't see this any different from having the current vice president, J.D. Vance, make reference to President Trump and Hitler. Their interests have changed. And so it is in Mayor Adams' interest to be with Governor Cuomo. And that's exactly what it is. It is his self-interest. He's not looking out for the voters or the citizens in New York.
You're referring to then citizen J.D. Vance in a private text chain, no longer private, using the Hitler comparison with Donald Trump. One leader in New York who still has not announced whom he might endorse is House Minority Leader, New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. Take a listen.
It doesn't even.
As you indicated, Wolf, early voting starts in a few days. And, I look forward to saying much more about the mayor's race, as I've promised, in advance of that moment. We'll have more to say about the mayor's race sometime soon.
Nina, the election's in 12 days. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. What do you think? What does it say that I don't think Schumer's endorsed now either?
No, they just might as well just confess and say they don't want to endorse Assemblymember Mamdani and just move on instead of playing in the faces of the people of New York. At this point, who cares whether Leader Hakeem Jeffries endorses or not?
Thanks to both of you. Really appreciate it. Great having you here. Go ahead, Jonathan. Final thought.
I beat cancer. Congratulations,
illustrate how
translucent
Mamdani
Trey.
is a problem for national Democrats. Jeffries is trying to get Democrats in a whole bunch of diverse districts from across the country elected to the House, and they see Mamdani.
According to NBC, the Cuomo campaign linked the New York Post article about you to every journalist asking about his Islamophobic comments. Andrew Cuomo says that that's another problem when radio host says Zohran Mamdani would cheer a terrorist attack. Wait, what? What the is up with this guy? Rich, as a party spokesperson for Cuomo, told NBC News that Cuomo did not agree with Rosenberg's comments and that his response was in reference to a comments by a progressive streamer, Hasan Piker. Cuomo has repeatedly criticized Mamdani for appearing with Piker, who once said America deserved 9/11 before he called the comments inappropriate. Piker was not specifically invoked during that part of the interview, and Mamdani said at last week's mayoral debate that Piker's comments were objectionable, reprehensible. He was referring to Mamdani's close friend Hasan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11, a statement 9/11 families called on Zohran Mamdani to denounce, but he refused for months, as the party said in an email statement, which included a link to the New York Post story. That's not new. Governor held a press conference. Oh, dude, it's first of all, no, then it's like totally fine. No, he was on my this. It's the exact same quote the campaign gave to every other outlet, so they linked the New York Post article to everyone. Oh, dude, it's fine. It's fine, dude. Oh, you can get away with saying anything you want about Zohran, dude. He appeared on my show one time. That's fucking nuts. I think everybody fucking knows exactly what's up. Oh, this is really funny. Yeah. By the way, they think they can get out of this by being like, but Hasan, brother, this is not LSF. Okay? You're running for mayor of New York. The people surrounding you that are listening to you are not a bunch of apolitical slop tubers. Why the is your election campaign comprised entirely of Redditors that you think, what about Hasan, is going to be a successful counter? I'm not even from New York. It's so funny. Sid Rosenberg starting to lose his mind, realizing that he accidentally put the final nail in Andrew Cuomo's coffin. Hey, Brad Lander, Jimmy Van Brainer, and the rest of you losers blaming Andrew Cuomo for my comments about how about coming at me? Andrew didn't say Zohran Mamdani would be cheering if, God forbid, we experience another 9/11. I said it, not Andrew. Cowards. And then Sean King says he agreed with it. He goes, of course he did, because it's the truth. You see that picture last week? I know who you are. Don't come here with your bullshit. No, I'm not going to follow back Sid Rosenberg, okay? Get the hell out of here. I don't understand. This has to be a byproduct of how unimaginably online the campaigners are, right? It has to be. Because, I mean, I know his brother asked me constantly to be on a show, and I've said no every single time. So I know that the Cuomos are somewhat aware of who I am. I didn't know Andrew was aware of who I am. But, like, what's hilarious about this is most New Yorkers do not know who I am. They don't know who I am. Okay? I don't know how to explain this. This doesn't mean, oh, I have no emotion whatsoever. But most New Yorkers don't know who the fuck I am. And the ones that do, by and large, a much larger number of New Yorkers who know who I am like me. And they're door knocking for Zohran. I don't think they're going to turn around and be like, wait a minute. Wait a fucking minute, dude. I found out about this Zohran Mamdani guy on the HasanAbi broadcast and then joined the fucking team to go door knock for him. And it became a part of the 50,000 army of door knockers. But turns out this Hasan Piker guy, that I've been watching for years said America deserved 9/11 6 years ago. He said, what? Yeah. And also, this other part is what is so apparent as well. Because, like, sure, are there Islamophobic New Yorkers? Absolutely. But by and large, Americans don't have the same level of, like, resentment. Like, they have a different kind of Islamophobia in America, right? It's not the same as, like, European Islamophobia. Because, like, imagine if, because the way it is in Europe, it's like the Islamophobia in Europe is basically like packaged with the Islamophobia that you have in America and the, like, anti-immigrant sentiment you have in America in an environment that is infinitely more hostile to immigrants than regular ass Americans in general. That's why it's, like, totally different. It works totally differently there, as opposed to it works totally differently in America, as opposed to, like, as it does in Europe, where people would say, like, oh, Islam is, like, destroying the West in Europe, and most people, like, tune into that. They subscribe to that racist notion, but they don't necessarily do that here in America, because Muslims are not as prominent a voting bloc. They just kind of stick to themselves. And also on top of that, like, there's a reason why the anti-Dearborn initiatives don't work that well, right? Where they're like, oh, there's the calls to prayer, you can hear it in Dearborn. It's scary. And then people go, whatever, who gives a shit? I don't think hitting the Islamophobia lines like this is going to come across as broadly positive to people. I think it just like grosses people out more than anything else. You think they're mad that your TikToks, YouTube shorts about Zoran are going viral and it's free advertising? They have to pay millions for a fraction of that? No, I don't think. I think that when you look at like how popping Zoran is on TikTok, is not. I have nothing to do with it. He's just popping on TikTok because he's young, he's vibrant, he's got a great team around him, and also he's got great policies. If it grosses people out so much, why does Trump go back to that playbook so often? Dog, are you kidding me? Even Donald Trump is nowhere near as Islamophobic as Andrew Cuomo has been this past week. Are you out of your mind? Donald Trump will suck the semen out of an Arab sheik's penis 1 week. Donald Trump knows where his bread is buttered. Are you kidding me? He fucking loves the Gulf leaders and shit. He wouldn't dare talk shit about Islam as broadly as Cuomo is. No, that's Laura Loomer, who, if you noticed, is no longer as close to the Trump administration as she's been going fucking nutty mode on the timeline about Islamophobia. Yeah, but saying a sheik is Muslim like saying Trump is Christian? Yeah, but they do hear the Islamophobic statements. Sequoia Partners unironically lost their chief operating officer recently due to the fact that that dipshit that runs Sequoia was running his fucking mouth about how Muslims are infiltrating the country. They lost a high-level C-suite executive, okay? And not only that, but now a bunch of those Gulf leaders that dump loads of money into Sequoia Partners are talking about how they're going to pull out because they're like, why would we give you our money if you're talking like this about Muslims and Islam in general? Yeah, that Sequoia guy always tweets about me too. He's a fucking freak. I think you guys forget, like, these dudes are moneyed up. Yeah, here it is. Buried at the end of the article. This is from Financial Times. Sumaila Balbale, a practicing Muslim, left the venture firm after it decided not to discipline the outspoken investor for a post about Zohran Mamdani. Sequoia COO quit over Sean McGuire's comments about Islamism. The scandal has also soured Sequoia's relationship with some top Middle Eastern investors. One financier based in the region who has worked with Sequoia described McGuire's comments as a humiliation. A lot of sovereign wealth funds from this part of the world are not going to work with this guy. If you notice, Donald Trump never talks about how Zoran is an Islamist. He says Zoran is a communist. Are you not wondering why Donald Trump, who does not hold back on racialized animus on any capacity, rarely ever talks about Zoran's beliefs? You don't fuck with the money. Andrew Cuomo is unironically more Islamophobic than Donald Trump is in his commentary, of course. I'm not talking about behind closed doors or whatever. Donald Trump knows where his bread is buttered. He knows. And yeah, sure, maybe the Gulf leaders are not like, truly practicing Islam or whatever. Who gives a shit? You're still shitting on them. Okay? Like nobody, when someone calls a black person an N-word, nobody goes, oh, well, hold up. Maybe it was because it was deserving. No, everybody understands exactly what that means. And Islamophobia works in the same fucking way. When someone's like, oh, all Muslims are barbaric, or this Muslim is barbaric and a terrorist, all the other Muslims hear that and they go, okay, well, fuck you then. Like people forget that, motherfuckers have access to the internet over there, okay? They're super wealthy and they see it. A lot of sovereign wealth funds from this part of the world are not going to work with this guy. That's for sure. He is not welcome here, he said. You work for your limited partners and founders. You are entrusted with serious capital by investors, the person added. This is not good for the brand. Anyway, we got through the first 30 seconds of this until I went on like 11 different tangents, but that's what these fucking assholes don't realize.